Good morning, everybody. I'm going to pass you this out first so that you have, if you want to take some notes, you can. If you fall asleep, you can, whatever you want here. If you fall asleep today, you'll really stick out, unlike when there's... Yeah, you know what, maybe I'll talk about that really quick, is if you and your teams are interested, I mean, Dylan knows, I'm an athletics guy. I've been in athletics all my life until the last 5 years, so started a podcast, long story short, and it's just a lot of people from the world of athletics, but it's trickled into business as well. In fact, this will be the first year that we have the conference that there's probably more people, quote unquote, business world than athletics. So Dr. Tim Elmore is a John Maxwell guy. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's written like 35 books. He's really, really good. He'll be the main speaker. John DeJulius is like head of customer service. That's out of like the Julius Group in Cleveland. He's big time customer service throughout the country. Only reason I knew about him is because I'm leading a book study at Berlin Gardens, and it's a great book if you're looking for a customer service book. Kyle Stark was an assistant GM for the Pirates for a long time. And so maybe I shouldn't publicly say Chris Holtman was coming at Ohio State, but I don't think that's going to happen now. That's been a little glitch. So, but nonetheless, there'll be some good guests, and we're looking forward to it. So, and it's a half-day event. It's a quick event out at the Ohio Star Theater, as Chris mentioned. Doors open at 7:30, starts at 8:15. You're out there by 12:15, 12:30. So, thanks for the quick plug. Okay, I don't know that I'm going to share anything with you today that you don't already know. Okay, this is probably something that everybody can relate to because we do it every day. It's just a matter of how well you're actually doing it. So I can give you my wife's cell phone for everything to contradict what I'm saying today. But the reason that I came up with this topic was I did it one other time, and they asked me, like, what is something that you're terrible at? So I thought, well, this is it, right? And so I can speak complete opposites and pour into you. I guess, and it's funny when I do this, like the last time I did it, I don't know, there was like 400 or 500 people in the crowd, and I asked them to stand. I asked a question. Obviously, I'm not going to ask you that today. So I'm going to ask you a question to start, and you're one of two. All right, we'll just go simple, raise a hand. All right, and you can participate too. All right. If you think you're a good listener or bad listener. So if you think you're a good listener, raise your hand. Okay, bad listener. Yeah. See, already we have a couple, there's no guys that are good listeners. So they're lying. Right off the bat, like we're not having a good start here because they're definitely lying. Well, and one thing I want you to do, I got a couple videos for you today that I think are absolutely hilarious, but they definitely bring home the point here. So this first one, two people, lady and guy. Does anybody watch this show? So maybe you've seen this already, but when you watch this video, by all means, you can laugh and enjoy it. But one thing I want you to do is just to think about, like, have you been her, have you been him, or maybe have you been both, okay? Let's make sure you can listen. I tested it.
First there was PlayStation, aka PS1. Then there's PS2, PS3, and now PS4. And that makes sense. You'd think after Xbox, there'd be Xbox 2. But no. Next came Xbox 360. And now, after 360, comes Xbox One. Why one? Maybe that's how many seconds of thought they put in the naming of it.
Can you get the butter, please?
However, with the Xbox One, I can control my entire entertainment system using voice commands. Up until now, I've had to use Leonard.
Then you can get the other one. Pass the butter?
Hang on. I don't feel like you're taking this dilemma seriously.
Fine, Sheldon. You have my undivided attention.
Okay, now, the PS4 is more angular and sleek-looking.
No way!
It's true, but the larger size of the Xbox One may keep it from overheating.
You wouldn't want your gaming system to overheat?
No, see, well, you absolutely would not. And furthermore, the Xbox One now comes with a Kinect included.
Included?
Yes. Not sold separately. Although the PS4 uses cool new GDDR5 RAM, while the Xbox One is still using the conventional DDR3 memory.
Why would they still be using DDR3? Are they nuts?
See, that's what I thought. But then they go and throw in an ES RAM buffer.
Oh, wait a second. Who's that?
The Xbox.
You're kidding!
No, I am not. This ES RAM buffer should gigabit per second bandwidth gap between the two RAM types.
This is a nightmare. How will you ever make a decision?
Gee, I don't know. What should I do?
Please pass the butter.
Good
I'm
video.
very passionate about that conversation.
Yeah. So like how many of you have been both in that situation, right? I mean, it's just something that happens to us. And I think like, you know, as you're leading people, or maybe even it's at home, how many times have you left a conversation and the other person has not felt heard? Okay, I think there's just something to ask. So I'm just going to throw a bunch of nuggets out at you. Hopefully one or two stick throughout the course of the day. If we do have a little bit extra time and you guys can conversate, there's a couple questions too. If we want to get to that, that's fine too. But here's a couple reasons. And once again, that should be on the, or you know what? Let me see here. Does this have, okay, so I think it's, does yours say why is listening important?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't give you the, there we go. Sorry, I thought they were,
Oh, that's my bad.
no, that's okay, that's okay.
Double-sided?
You have the 4 listening, that's this one, and which one is yours? Yep, there you go. Yep, all good, there we go, perfect, okay. All right, first one to me, it shows that you care, all right? I'm really big on this. I think a lot of people always talk about this and they want buy-in, but they're missing this part right here. This might be the only time I write anything, but if you think about the relationships that you have in your life, especially the ones that there's a high level of trust, I'd be willing to say that those people care about you and vice versa. Okay, so I don't even think we can get to this without this. And then eventually this is the highest level to me if we're simplifying it in those 3 things. So I think, you know, when I'm listening well to the people in my life, not just that matter, but just in general, and I show that I care, okay, I think it really makes a difference, all right? The next one is listening goes beyond hearing. It's hearing to understand. I'm sure you've heard of the Covey, seek to understand, not to be understood. This to me, I would have this next to my bed every morning. Okay, this part about understanding is this. It's not about me. Okay, it's not about me. It's about you or them. Okay, your people, whoever that might be, that you're leading. When you listen effectively, you improve your ability to connect and understand, all right? I think the connection piece I'm going to focus on first. Whether you're introverted, whether you're extroverted, whatever you are, I think we're ultimately, at the end of the day, we're all hardwired for connection. We all need it. We all crave it. The understand part, all right? The understand part, this is probably for more of the guys in the room. So you're going to have you might not even need any of this. I think this really deals with the love language, okay? And am I truly understanding the person that I'm listening to? All right, like it's really easy for me to use my wife as an example in this. Like we are just complete opposites. Okay, so it's very difficult for me to understand. But the better listener I am, the more I'm connecting with her and then I'm understanding her. All right, this is a big one. This is probably, I would say, my biggest weakness. All right, the best kind of listening requires us to set aside internal and external distractions. I'm going to stop there really quick. All right, so internally, and I'll touch base on this later as a point too. When I'm talking, all right, to you about something, how many of you have a tendency to think about what you're already going to say next? Yeah, big one for me. All right, I already have the best advice in the world and I can come back right away and give you something. All right, I'm not engaged or fully in. All right, externally, I think we all know I'm sitting there on my recliner at the end of the night, I'm scrolling mindlessly through Twitter and my wife is talking to me about her day. Not good. Okay, not good. So whatever those are, okay, whatever those distractions are, you want to be fully engaged, fully immersed, emotionally, mentally, whatever it is for you, just to be continually locked in without judgment or interruption, which I'll touch on later. Okay, it greatly influences our relationship, all right? I think just to be all about this. How can I be more effective in my relationships, all right? How can I take them to the next level? How can I collaborate better in team dynamics or relationships? And how can I just ultimately deepen that relationship and then give ourselves the ability to succeed? Okay, I don't think there's anything better that when you're leading at home, at work, whatever it is, to give those people a chance, to succeed.
So Kevin, you find yourself in that space where you're thinking about the response. You're thinking about that. I know do you stop?
Yeah, I think it depends on how your wiring is. Like, there's been times where I've been in a conversation, I'm very like authentic, transparent, vulnerable, and I'll be like, Chris, I gotta apologize. Like, I'm totally thinking about what I'm gonna say. Like, I've done that before. And I've just said, can you repeat that to me so that I'm more present for you? You know, and in terms of some of that stuff, I think it's almost like there's two people on your shoulder fighting. Like, stop it, don't let, you know what I mean? Like, so for me, I just have to be really intentional and locked in because I have a tendency to go off. Do you have something that you'd recommend, or is that something you do or not do?
I just try really hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I have like, hey, this is like a foolproof method for me, but I've been open if I haven't been listening well. And then I just try to tell myself as I go into a conversation, just do a better job. I mean, if we're being honest, we probably all struggle with it more at home than we do like right now. You know, we're usually better at it there. The next thing is, you know, we talked about the success and achievement, but it also affects your ability to grow, okay? I don't know how you can grow if you're not listening or if you're not engaged or having a lot of these, or not effectively listening to these conversations. I think we learn, because, you know, because we listen, and we grow because we learn. All right, so I think it's a big thing. I think it's really difficult. And I think the other thing is, when it comes to some of this, is I can learn something from everybody. Like, we have a 16, 14, 8-year-old, 3 boys. That 8-year-old, in some degrees, is smarter than I am in a couple things. I mean, it's amazing. Like, I learn stuff from my 8-year-old on a consistent basis. And I'm not too good enough, or I'm not too proud to admit that. Like, it's just, maybe it's humbling, I guess, sometimes. But at the end of the day, if there's anybody, like when you go today, like for me, you could learn something what to do. You might even learn what not to do. You know, you can completely disagree with everything I say, or agree with some of it, or agree with all of it. But hopefully there's something, which we'll talk about at the end, that you have a takeaway. So some of the benefits. The first one would be mutual respect. To the guys in the room, I think this is a big thing. I think this is something that's big in general for people, but especially for men. And then I think ultimately at the end of the day, people are going to trust you. If you're listening, there's just a trust, once again, that I think they'll trust what you are going to say. This is a big one for a lot of people. And I don't know how you're wired. I love confrontation. Probably too much and to a fault. My wife, for example, and a lot of S's and C's do not, okay? I think it's going to happen. Any type of conflict within any of your relationships, but I think this can kind of put some water on the flames. If you're really listening, if you're taking the time to listen and truly understand that other person, I think it really does help. You know, just give them a chance to be heard, and then hopefully you can resolve things a little bit better, and maybe even sometimes quicker. Because like I said at the beginning, I think we take it for granted, the listening part, because we use it every day, but how can we do it better, especially in these situations? We talked about this one already, all right? It's just the ability to learn and to grow. You know, if I'm, you know, when I was, it was 2018, coming off of neck surgery, coming off of being fired in April-ish. I mean, I had 6 months. All I did, and I live in Winesburg, and I was going the other way for the first 6 years we came home. So the next 4 I've been coming this way. I called everybody that I could. Didn't even know them. I just called them. When I was a basketball coach, I remember one time, I got to go visit all these places, and the guy said, put a pin on the circle, or put a pin on the map and draw a circle. 3 hours. Just go. You don't have to fly anywhere. Well, sometimes we think, think about it. You just go 10 minutes this direction. There's 15, 20 people in that town that can, they can teach you a lot. So my wife says I'm nuts. I'll just call you. Chris, hey, what's going on? It's Kevin, Billy. I'd love to take you out for coffee sometimes. Now, everybody's afraid of him saying what? No. Guess what? Once you say no, I move on. I know where I'm at. I go to the next one. So, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it does not bother me. So, I think it's a really big thing. Also, you have influence with others. Okay, once again, that could even be in your home. All right, I think people want to be around you. I go back to, my grandma's been passing out for probably 9, 10 years. And when I think about listening, like, she was the greatest listener ever. I mean, it helps when you stop at grandma's house, and of course, right away she's making you a sandwich, and getting everything ready. But I could just, I could throw up all my problems or anything that was going on in my life to my grandmother. And she would just listen. I felt heard, and so I wanted to share with her. And so she was really good at this. And I think if you think about the best listeners in your life, they definitely have some influence on you, especially when you're asking for their input and opinion. And then if you are a part of a company or even at your house, if you listen well, I think you have the ability to create a positive environment. And I don't know all of you, but I would think this is something that you all want, all right? And then this helps, I don't think you're going to completely avoid conflict and misunderstandings, but I definitely think you'll have less of them. Going too fast, or everybody all right?
Good.
Nobody's asleep, so that's good, right? All right. So I'm going to give you 4 listening styles for 4 types of situations, pretty much like in the workplace. Because what I've learned is this: I don't think there's one right way to listen all the time. I think instead, great listeners are going to constantly adapt. Okay, they're going to adapt the way they listen to help the person they're speaking to. All right, whether that's ultimately to accomplish their goals or to meet their needs. I think that's a big part. All right, this is a really good question to ask. All right, so if I'm in a one-on-one or whatever I'm doing, what does this person want from me? Okay. I think if you can get really good at these 4 things, I think it'll really help you in your conversations. All right. So sometimes they just need you to immerse. Okay. Sometimes a person needs you to immerse. All right. There's many situations where, the workplace or the speaker that's coming to you, they just need the listener, okay, just to absorb the material they're delivering. They do not need your input. This is the part where if we're waiting to talk or whatever it is, they just want you to listen without comment or judgment. And they just ultimately just want you to be immersed in what's being conveyed to them. Okay, or what's being conveyed to you, excuse me. All right, and then just to make sure you understand it all. So with each one of these, I'm going to give you like maybe a couple cues or some things that somebody could say. So if I come in, I just say, hey, Chris, I'm here to give you an update today. Immerse. I'm giving you an update. They don't want an update from you. You know what I mean? Hey, this is important for you to know. I thought I'd let you know this. Does that make sense? When they're telling you those things, that's a cue. That's a signal for you to immerse. All right. Those are some key words that they're not really looking for anything else other than that. So, I'm a note taker. I take notes. Mentally, you can probably just keep some of those things going. The other thing is, which I'm going to mention later, it'll be one of the tips, but ask questions. Or, Chris, what I heard you say was, because I think clarity is everything. If you can nail simplicity and clarity, you're going to be pretty good. So just how can you immerse yourself in that situation? So the next one would be to discern. Okay, I think needing guidance at any point in our life, especially in the workplace, is common. There's nothing wrong with it. So when the people we work with aren't really sure what's going well and what's not, they're looking for somebody to help them consider maybe the strengths and weaknesses of a current project, or just in general, maybe whatever their situation is. Okay, so they may come in and say, hey, I need some feedback on this. That's inviting you. Okay, that's inviting you. That's to help them to discern. Or, you know what, I'm not sure if this makes sense. And then start to talk through that. Okay, those are cues once again. I think you can help them identify red flags or maybe even pinpoint positives. If that person's love language is, they might need affirmed. Okay, they just might need affirmed that they're on the right path or whatever that may be. So just help them get unstuck. Or the other thing you can do in this discernment is they might need to consider an alternative approach. Maybe something else that they haven't thought of, and that's a conversation that you can have with them if you're listening well. Next one would be to advance. Okay, these are the people that are focused on outcomes and press for time. Procrastinators like me. Love the challenge of it, all about it, want the result. But sometimes I just need help to advance it. So whatever it might be, how do you help me with this project or move this process forward? What is the best way to advance? All right, and these could be some things. Some things that I'm like, hey man, I don't know how I'm going to get this project done. I got 20 hours and whatever it might be. Okay, these people I would say also have a tendency to be a little bit more higher emotional. They can be, up and down when it comes to some of this stuff. But that's just a time for you to be, you to be an advanced listener. Or, hey, maybe I need to make a decision on this. Maybe they're looking for confirmation or something, or just to know that this is something I need to do. Will you help me? What's going to help it? All right. So I think, you can offer that decision. You could take on some of the work yourself. You could help them delegate some of it, whatever it might be. But you just need to understand who it is you're speaking to, going back to those love languages earlier that we talked about. And the last one is support. All right. I think everyone experiences challenges and everyone experiences victories, a little bit of both. Both opportunities are an opportunity to create human connection. Okay, so what I do now, I would say it's leadership development. All right, I met Sam about 2.5 years ago. I think it was now almost 3 years ago. I did an 8-week session at Berlin Gardens that turned into 10 hours a week to 20 hours a week, now 25 hours a week, and just director of leadership development. Very similar probably to what Bruce did at Provia. And then I have about 10 other leaders that I do one-on-ones with. Everybody comes up to me and they ask me when I'm talking about creating this human connection, if you could do one thing, all right, as a leader, what would it be? And I always tell them, connect. Just connect with your people. Get to know them and do whatever you can to connect with them, all right? I mean, this is where, when you're supporting somebody, you're acknowledging and mirroring their feelings. Okay, they understand once again that you care about them, okay, that you care about them. Somebody may come in and say, man, I'm having a horrible day. That's where I'm like, oh, go see. No. But that's a cue for you to support. Or it could be on the flip side, man, I have the best news. And they just want to share it with you. They want supported in that aspect, all right? So I think that you can respond with words and actions that validate their feelings. This is where some feelings are going to be attached to this one. So you're kind of the confident or maybe the cheerleader, depending on the situation. And I'm only speaking to you when it comes to this, since there's no other ladies in the room. Just so you know, and you can just share this with whoever you want. There's 4 of these when it comes to this. We don't know how to do any of them. All right. So the other guys that said they did earlier, once again, they were just making that up. All right. All right. So if you want to be a better listener, now what? So just a couple tips, couple points, kind of bring some of this home, and then I'll share a video and one other thing to finish. But this is the biggest one that I think has resonated, it seems like, with people in here. Just, you have to avoid trying to think about what you're going to say next. Okay, we covered this one already, but just try to be present. Try to remind yourself, listen. I'll literally sometimes say that or repeat this. It's not about me. It's not about me. Stop what you're doing, make eye contact, and fully engage. Okay, this is getting rid of all those distractions that we talked about earlier, internally, externally, whatever they might be. Just lock in, all right? Just lock in and just continue to listen to, and both of these, listen. I think the other thing is listen to understand, not to respond. That first one. Listen to understand, not to respond. And just do whatever you can to be present, okay? The more present I am in conversations, the better off I am. Talked about this one a little bit earlier. If you want to really get to learn and do that, just start a podcast, right? You can just ask whatever questions you want. It's great. I mean, you can be constantly curious and you can constantly seek clarity as best as you can by asking questions. Or I mentioned earlier too, along with this, and you might just continue to ask, explain that to me a little bit more. Can you explain that a little bit more? Or reaffirming, this is what I heard. Once again, I think those are really good things as well. Follow-up questions are great. Just paraphrasing or summarizing their thoughts, I think will really help you. And then the next one would be listen with an open mind. Just kind of all sides of the story. I would say I'm somewhat of a black sheep, right? I grew up in Brewster, but I've just been in this area 10 years. And this is one that I like to have a lot of discussions with. Some that I make people uncomfortable and some that I love to lock in with, and we have really good conversations. I'm all about being, I've always been about being in one room, but now I think I want to be in 2 rooms. So the first room is put me in the room where I'm the dumbest guy, which I'm successful this morning, right? Now, if I stay the dumbest guy, it's my fault. It's like, you remember back in the day, like if I'm the best player at this court, go find another court, right? So I think everybody can kind of relate to that one. The other one is I want to put myself in a room where everybody disagrees with me. I know that may be like, well, why would you want that? Maybe it's not my confrontation. It's just, I think at this point in my life, I think it can reaffirm some things for me. I think it's like, you know what? I am convicted in this. I was just telling a business owner the other day, one of the biggest differences between when I was a head coach in college and what you do, Chris, I'm not saying that you couldn't get fired, but there's usually a process to it. I could walk in tomorrow and get fired. And so when you were a head coach in college, dependent on 18 to 22-year-olds who never knew what they were doing, you had a great deal of conviction. So early on in my life, I was 25 years old as a head coach and thought I knew everything and knew nothing. But I did have conviction. So for me, if you would have came and said, hey, will you cheat? Or will you alter this grade? No way, fire me. So being in that room of people that disagree with me, I think it goes back to some of my convictions. And the other thing is it opens my mind up a little bit more to some things that maybe I'm not aware of or not doing. If Chris and I were to sit down and have coffee and he would challenge me with something, I would say, you know what, let me go home. I want to talk to Aaron about this. I want to think this over. I'll get back to you in a week. And to come back and say, you know what, we talked about it. It doesn't fit, Chris. I appreciate it. Don't love you any less, but it's just not going to work for us. Keep them coming. Or, you know what, this is great. I can't believe we weren't doing this with our kids. I can't believe we didn't look at this on the ballot, whatever it might be. Just to have those deep conversations to where we can really engage and my mind is open. I've said this and I don't mean it personal, but the horses aren't the only ones with blinders on around here sometimes. We just need to open up a little bit more and have that open mind. You can tell where I feel like I'm called to, right? Listen objectively, okay? Just don't be influenced by others. Probably going back to some of that convictions that I was just talking to a little bit. And just by doing this, I think you have the opportunity to create the trust necessary, all right, to establish open and honest communication. My wife maybe put this one on here. I'm not really good at it. But no, I think moving forward with empathy and just truly trying to understand others, not making it about you once again. And I think this goes back to that. I think you just really want to show, that you care. All right. Anybody seen this nail video before? How many are any of you fixers? Like me, I try to fix everything. Are you a fixer at all? Usually something happens at home. I got to run in. I got to fix it. My wife's dealing with one of our sons. Something happens. Boom, I got to take care of it. All right. This might be for you. And if not, it's just a really good laugh once again.
It's just, there's all this pressure, and sometimes it feels like it's right up on me. And I can just feel it, literally feel it in my head. And it's relentless. And I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me most, is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head.
It's not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I'll bet if we got that out of there.
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out maybe the nail is causing.
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
See, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail.
See, you're not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just, sometimes it's there's this achy, I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. All of them.
That sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you. Ow!
Oh, come on. If you would just
Don't.
It's one of my favorite videos ever. It's not about the nail, right? But at the end of the day, I just do think that sometimes your people, home, work, friends, whatever it is, they just need you to listen. They come in, they just need somebody to talk to. What are one of those four things? Immerse, discern, support, advance, all right? You've all probably heard this before, but we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we speak. And I don't know if you've ever scrambled up those words, but when you scramble up listening, Any ideas what you get in there? Silent. All right, silent. All right, you can, that's a Bruce Hampshire addition to my talk. All right, I'm really big on making sense of experience. All right, to try to keep things here. You know, if it was the day after a game, we would do 3 good, 3 bad. Just try to always, you know, make sense of it. So what I would suggest you do, you know, today and maybe in a future practice is like, what's one thing you took from today? Once again, it could be something that, man, I disagree with that and it's reaffirmed me and just I'm convicted in that. Or here's something that I didn't know, you know, but always take the time to consider at least a minimum of 1 takeaway. And then I think this is really big. I'm a huge habits guy. It's probably embedded in my background of my 15 minutes of ball handling every day or whatever it is. I'm all about habits. I think they sustain over time. Goals are good, but how many people have read Atomic Habits? Do we have any? Yeah, I'm subscribed to that 1,000%. But an action step. Okay, an action step is, right, so if you think about this specific topic, I need you to think of what you're going to do, you know, who you're going to do it with, and when you're going to do it. So an example would be, I'm going to go home every day the rest of this week. When I walk in or when Erin walks in the door, I'm putting my phone away and I'm engaged in conversation with her for however long it takes. Whew. Okay, that's an action step. I said what I was going to do, I said when I was going to do it, and I said who I was going to do it with. Now, what's the chances that'll get done compared to I'm going to go home and listen to my wife better tonight? You know, I've been more specific, all right? It's something ultimately that, and I would tell you this, if you can't find a who to do it with, then find an accountability partner. You know, I don't know what I would do. I mean, every 2 weeks we go meet for lunch, 4 of us, accountability. It's just, we all need it. So whatever it is when you're coming up with that action step, you know, if you don't have the person, so I would say, hey, Aaron, here's my action step for the rest of the week. You know, whether you want to grade me on a daily or at the end of the week, let me know how I'm doing and what impact that has on you. And if it's something that works, guess what? I should probably keep doing it again. Okay, I should probably keep doing it again. And then I just think ultimately at the end of the day, like, I don't need to put that up there, but I just think ultimately at the end of the day, you just have to remember, you know, there is a difference between listening, all right, listening good, listening well. You know, you just want to try your best to listen well and hopefully pick up on some of these keys today that will help you in those relationships. So thank you for listening to my talk, all right? Good to go, yep.